I'm gonna keep rolling. But I was saying I'll be at a grocery store, a gas station, and this I'm about to have. I'm just gonna say there'll be if I were to have a birthday cake for once in life. I'm not so messed up about a birthday cake, but to have someone cool to celebrate a birthday with, that'd be new and unique for me. But I'm just gonna say there'll be a four on if I get to have a birthday that's scheduled for within not too long, like around like certain holidays. When that happened, she was still like damn, I got about babies about as old as you. But when I looked at her, I was like, nah, I think I've been hit puberty since at least about the time that she didn't look much younger older than, she look about as old as I would look if I had been taking care of like that baby. I had been watching the dad like that baby. That's about how it, but she looked still look good, no less. She still look healthy, sturdy. But she looked about the way I think I could look like that if I hadn't been like how I do things. But then she said that, and then after she said that, she was like, "Motherfucker!" And then she said something like, "I got babies about it." I wasn't even trying to holler at her out. She just like, "I got babies about as old as you." And then she go out there, "Motherfucker!" And then she hit a lottery ticket. She's like, "Motherfucker!" And she's like, so she cussed my ass out, and she told me that I'm no more sturdy, I'm no more viable than a toddler as far as she's concerned. Grown ass man, this and that. I look about like a toddler if I was gonna try that shit around her. Ain't got no love for me, and ain't got no sugar for me now. They ain't got no sugar for daddy right now. So I ain't got no sugar. But then she go up to a lottery ticket like that. That motherfucker. I got baby battles with you, motherfucker. Every time, man, just trying to get it out. That motherfucker always trying to say, oh, yeah, that's it, baby. Yeah, we gonna win, baby. Yeah, then we out of here, baby. We ain't gotta listen to these stupid motherfuckers. Look about as old as my kid trying to holler at me. So that's what she said, right? And I was like, fuck, that was she got me with that one. And then the next day, I come back and I'm like, I was saying something smart to like her coworker, and I was like, oh yeah, and baby girl had this and that to say, and I was like, yeah, you know what? And the thing of it too is, I probably look about. The thing of it too would be that I probably look about as old as your baby, but have been about as old as their daddy, and I can still make some more just like them. But it was better timing when I said it. But then I was like, yeah, you like that smoke, right? Because just like the leftover potatoes are better. Now we ain't touching leftover French fries, but them leftover potatoes are better. The leftover smoke's hotter too. How about that? So I said that, but that's an example of how my humor in her humor. My humor would be more like a wannabe amateur self-style because I'm actually making fancy ideas that I think are clever, are timely, or prudent, or whatnot. I learned a cool word today, apropos. I'm not gonna say what that is, but if someone would look it up, something ain't real till you put your hands on something, but also you read or write something, it become real. So this video would have more value if someone look up the word apropos. But I can make any apropos uh, um, joke. I sound like a jackass saying joke and apropos together. That might be an oxymoron. I can make any apropos joke, and that don't mean shit. But she can, that motherfucker, son of a bitch, talking shit, this and that, trying to holler, this and that. Man, don't you know I got shit to do? I got grown ass kids and shit, trying to holler me and shit. There we go, baby. We gonna get out of here, baby. Yeah, that's just me and you. That lottery ticket. Yeah, all these motherfuckers out here. Yeah, I still love you, baby. That's how that for mama. That's actually kind of funny, but that's actually more of like a comedian because a real comedian. That's like if you wanted to be a real comedian, every time you talk shit to someone, just have a lottery ticket. Yeah. This and that. That's son of a. That's it. Actually, you could if you wanted to if you wanted to be like really holier than thou, they would say like holier than thou. What's holier than thou? Holier than thou just means you have a Bible. You simply have a Bible in your hand because anybody's ass is anything, and everybody is as filthy rags except for when you're holding something that is a good word. So if you have right now I'm holding something that's stamped. If you're holding something that's stamped, you have no value in this life other than what you hold that had been stamped. So what she doesn't know is that money is a lot about fiat as much, but it might serve you in fortune, but in value it's actually fiat, and that shows you how arbitrary we are that we give that much value to something that's fiat and actually give real outcomes of fortune based on fiat. But if you wanted to just never look like an idiot, just carry around what somebody doesn't know, like say we're like just a piece of paper, any piece of paper. It can even be a napkin, right? So like, what do you do with an actual napkin that you've used and you don't want to look like not clean or something like that? But it really, if you just had a napkin and every time someone cussed you out, right? Like say someone really got you with a zinger, like I need to speak to your manager, buddy. Where's your manager, buddy? Is somebody, even your damn manager, made you look like an idiot? Just kiss something. Just don't even say. Just say, yeah. Just do that. People were like, what? But actually, that's like a lot of like what a comedian would be doing is like they're actually bolstering and paying homage to the status quo, and that's what make it funny like that. But I digress a little bit with that one. But I was saying that but like in modern life, people really they take things that are like doctors would take things like the material, and they forget that we are actually transcendent. We really are transcendent, and you can get stuck in arbitrary when you focus on the material. So then with that, when they would make these films about like how human beings are going to merge with technology, you would think that it's going to be upon physical. That's actually one weakness I think in the film The Matrix, is that they made it seem as though to become one with technology is that a human being would have to do that upon physical means. Like there would have to be like that. Like I think this is so cool, but this actually might be my connection to the Matrix right here. That's my little hook to the Matrix right there. Yep. And see, I even got this one so that it's just to tie it up. You think it's for the hair, but this is just so that it doesn't come loose and I don't get back stuck in the Matrix like that. But you could appreciate that anything is the Matrix at this point, even the damn wall. So I might not be too far off the Matrix. Like, so just for me to say something cool off the Matrix, back to you live off the Matrix. I just got, but you would think that takes a physical means, and some of the weakness in like a lot of storytelling is that they're confounded. That we're in such a heavily materialistic society that when movies try to do things that would be magical or even spiritual or a lot of things, the weakness in the story is that they're confounded by the physical means of it. So because of that, like you have like some like your action movies and stuff. I mean your franchise movies now, and they're getting like a little bit more overdone, over the top, because they're overdoing the magic part of it, because they're still not willing to relinquish the physical assumptions that we have about physical reality. Is that the storylines they stop, but then they get more and more sophisticated to overcome the fact that they would like to be magical, they would like to be transcendent, they would like to be to do things to do with, like, especially like with, they're actually trying to get past their training, because we've been trained to be materialistic and to be linear, as to understand our existence upon the linear appreciation of what's called time, but also space, and the physical reality being the space, but the linear component. I mean that. So both materialism and our notion of time are very arbitrary and linear. But you could say that when you say so, all is mind and matter to the East, but you could also say mind and matter is also corporal, physical reality, and a lot of what we call time, because a lot of your mind has to do with time. One of the things that's so deep, your mind really is comprised of time, and it takes a sense of timing to be understood. Because like, even if I said the same words at a different cadence and even tonality, it sounds very different. Very, very, very different. So it would sound very different if that because your mind really appreciates time a lot deeper than we. All of our existence would have been upon timing before the modern iteration, because we would have had to time animals to hunt them. We would have had to time the curation of like foraging to, and the timing of the seasons to get on to anticipate. There's no existing in nature without timing, because you couldn't handle the seasons, but also the demands of other people and animals and plants. We can't handle that without a sense of timing. So our mind is very steep in timing, and that might be the undoing of some people say that that's the undoing of a lot of relationships, is because our communication in the modern reality is off kilter. And like even me, I speak at a pretty quick cadence. It was called that tick. I'm not. If you say tick, that's gonna sound like a mental health diagnosis, but that's actually the name for the speed of something, like as it's timing engaging something, the tick of it. The at my cadence of speech, it confounds people, and it's kind of like a lot of life is a lot like fishing. You know, like if you watch, like, it's kind of funny, right? Like I'm egregious with this, but you look at, like, it's like it's hard to date. Sometimes a lot of people struggle around dating, right? A lot of people really struggle around dating. But if you turn on something at night that you're not really proud of watching, you see people that are doing anything but struggling with dating, or at least what looks like that. And the very people that you would struggle to date, like the people that you can't get on with, that you like to have a meaningful experience with, if anything, that you can't get the time of day from, there they go on those apps at night, right? But on those apps, they're about as vulnerable and prone as a fish that's been caught. And they like that, and they probably feel good on both sides of that. But that's a lot of, like, life is a lot like, people are a lot like fish. And so a fish normally is very easy to scare away a fish. Like, I was good enough when I grew up around fishing, and I knew better than to talk on a boat. Like, when some of my deepest experiences in life were with my grandpa, and we would go out fishing, like, in the morning. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful on a lake, out on the lake, because the sun and even the sky, it looks different from the vantage point of the water than from the land. And then the water looks beautiful, and the land also looks more beautiful from that vantage point. It's so beautiful there, but your voice really carries, like, especially the bass. But your voice, even if for a small child, your voice would carry right through the boat, right through the water, and scare the hell away anything that's around there. You don't get approached by fish until until they forget you're there. But for that, you have to forget you're there. And that's that's a lot about, like, fishing, is that less of talking, very little talking, very little talking. You have some bright things, some enticing things, some hooks, but nothing to do of talking and communicating. But then once you have the hook in their mouth, and then you get them all the way back to cleaning them, then they're all your. You can have your way with them. You can talk. You can say anything. You can joke. You can fart. You can throw back a couple beers. You can mock the. Heaven forbid. You can. I don't mean to be egregious around animals, but you can mock the thing. You can do anything you want once you got them hooked like that. But it's a lot like people are like that too. Is that if you have to, they're about as flighty as fish would be until they bought into something, and then once they bought into something and they're under a means of leverage, like, even where that be, like, social or emotional, or even their very mind, will, and emotions is under leverage like that, based on the approach and the enticement, but also the angle. Because a fisherman is called an angler, and a lot of what people like and don't like about you is your angle, because everyone wants the same thing. Everybody wants to have experiences like what we like to turn on at night that we're not proud of, but everybody doesn't get to do that, and everybody isn't appreciated for wanting to do that, because the angle is in the angle, and then the enticement, and the less of communication that would work with that. I think the only thing that proves the rule is just to be yourself. So I speak a little bit like that. But if you think about it, so you have mind and matter. According to Arthur Avalon, all things are mind and matter. And then the hard sciences, they would also say that you have, like you have different grades of matter, where it'll, at the finer level, it's electrical activity. It's all actually mind. Even the matter is mind. But you can't get away from the property of matter. Um, and uh, and so there is probably different ranges of mind, and that's actually what's scary about dreaming and, like, hereafter, is because, like, if you think that there had not actually been something called matter, and all of life is actually dreaming, life is but a dream, is the realest thing. So if you've had experiences that you're still dreaming about those experiences, what's scary is that the first experience had been a dream, yet you're still dreaming it. So what does that say about that experience and that you dream it? That's there's some things that we conveniently forget, and it helps us deal with things. I think part of sleeping and waking, it helps us forget how surreal life is, but realer for being surreal, but surreal for being real. is what life is, but that we would fall. It's kind of like if you imagine being you have certain jobs that you do it for the income, but you don't exactly like it, but you don't like to not do it either. So if you're an over the road truck driver, all you think about is getting home. But then when you're home, all you think about is getting back on the road because you're stuck in that at that rate of existing, that frequency like that, which is to fret about getting to and from home is your way of being, whether you are at home or not. You're at the frequency and mode of fretting about being at home. But also ours, we're in the frequency and mode of being ignorant because we're actually yet dreaming all along. But if we didn't get to be awake or dreaming one way and then awake while dreaming, but dreaming differently for thinking that we were awake, that a little bit of that ignorance and ambivalence, it allows us to actually think ourselves to be resting and think ourselves to be free of the prior day or prior experiences, but they're really going on a lot. And I think that one of the things about music that's one of the things that's healing about music is that if you were to break down the musical scale, like in the Western music, the 12 notes, they or 7 notes in the 5 accidentals, which are like sharps and flats. They exactly repeat ad nauseum, ad infinitum, up and down forever, and they may be different ways parallel than we appreciate, and such that it's also like what we'd call time and mind for that matter. Because I'm saying that what we think of ourselves as having a mind, matter and mind, material and time being the mind, the deeper part of mind, that is the cadence and rhythm of all that exists. It when we're in a linear mode, both what we can do, what we can conceive, and what we can let go of is locked and is limited by our notions that have been trained from our first training, the first training we have in life, likely, but yet the firm training our whole life over is about that clock, and that hasn't even changed now in our present iteration of industrialism and individualism, is that we are still as steeped in that clock as we have for long been. But it also it affects it creates some of the sensations of trauma because we're fighting and dying and killing and being maimed and being kicked out of jobs and livelihoods. And how bad would you use? So you love people, right? You love your loved ones. I stand down and I commend and I believe anyone watching this, you love who you love. You know that. But you wouldn't appreciate someone come point a gun at you, much less you would feel away someone pointing about a gun at you in the first place, but your family in the second place, you would feel way about that. Yet you wouldn't feel way about your boss or your job holding you by the balls and by extension your family's livelihood in jeopardy based upon a clock. Because if you were to show up, you this and that, you're respectable. You got respect among the boys. You've been doing your job this long, but you come in a couple minutes past, a couple more times than a couple times, and that's going to be a problem for you in the first place. And then you're going to figure out what happened to anyone else. They might got something different for someone else, but that wouldn't be as you would have it. So so they might as well have you buy a gun. They might as well have a double barrel pointed at both of them good ones you got. Because what do you really got in this life other than a couple of them, right? So everyone said that, hey man, I got this many notches on this many that. Yeah, but if you really broke all of them down, how many of them did you earn? How many did you enjoy? How many did you have to? How many of them were real good to go like that? Real ones that you get off. Real ones. I say maybe 1 or 2. I can say no more than 1 or 2. Might be all it take. Maybe also all I get. But that clock is about as good as a double barrel pointed at your 1 or 2, 1 and 2 like that. Double barrel, double triggered, double barrel, double gauged at both of them good cojones like that is a clock, and we've been trained like that, and so but also if you were to appreciate that, just the way that that the notes they repeat, they go up, over, and under forever like that, all the way up forever, all the way down forever. As soon as you would go to one C, the next C up is only another C before yet another C, and only another C after another C before another one that comes before that and that. So when you're listening to music, it's actually baffling your time. That may be why music can draw experiences that are your experience, that are along what you understand as linear, what it is you understand as your mind was given to you. Your mind is given to you by your training. Your mind is not very different than your training under normal circumstances. That has been mitigated upon a clock. You understand yourself and your experience upon that clock. And some of that's daunting, like, dang, how long ago was that? And it feel like some things, meaningful things, were forever and a day ago, but they might have been a day and now, and when, or a little more than a day and now ago. But when you listen to music, it's existing in such a way that it, because it repeats like that and can repeat like that, and it actually is impressing you and pleasing you based on its nature, which is also to be transcendent, arbitrary and transcendent, of what we would call it arbitrary. Our notion of linear time with the clock is what's arbitrary, but it would make music feel arbitrary and transcendent, and that you can access that thing as though it were yesterday, as though it were yesterday and now and now and yesterday and tomorrow and now and yesterday and could be and would be. And there's something of healing in that. Music is very healing. Like they would say, you go through all this. It's funny. You go through all this many years of school. You get a lot of trauma in school, exactly not very far away from a clock. Most of your trauma, some of the clock brings on some of the arguments, some of the pressure that brings on the arguments, and the setting. Like there's someone named King Noble, and he's saying that he don't know what it is about these like atrocities in schools, like with children acting out, but it would be so dire that these children feel like their life revolves around their school. At that point, they've known nothing outside of school, and they have no better. They feel so strong about something, about needing to be free, that they don't care if it would cost them their lives or someone else, heaven forbid. That's how children feel. Sometimes in the worst case scenario, seldom. But also the training of the video games in the media probably doesn't help that. It probably bolsters that. It train. I think it trains people whether they realize that or not. I was watching a grown ass man, a former NBA player, play a video game while on streaming online, having a real conversation. And when you watch people play video games, you can tell that the programming goes very deep. The training goes very deep because you're programming yourself. A deeper program is to program yourself. So you're giving yourself your own rewards and punishment because you're paying for the system, the video game system, but you're also curating your own experience based on your decisions. So you're your own trainer. How you, a lot of people would mock a monkey for being trained. What about a monkey that trained itself? And is the monkey trainer not also a monkey trainer? But also the same thing for a video game player, or even me making content, because I'm probably training myself to seek attention and views too. But but that's how the students feel like that, because they want to be free. But it's a lot about the clock. But then you go through all that much school like that, and then you go through more school because you'd like to now be a music therapist. But in order for you to be a music therapist, you're going through more rigors that are demanded of you based upon a clock. And you're going to help people essentially one day based upon a clock for something to do with music that you also spent a lot of resources on for music like that. But the deeper thing is just that the music is the only thing that's free of that stupid clock. It's not less than or inferior to the clock. And it's not outside of parameters of timing, because music does involve timing. But the harmony within it, it's transcendent, because there's no definition of up and down in it. There's a sensation of up and down, but no definition of it. Um, but so when a lot of these films, like these theatrical films, like whether they have to do with magic or lore, like a lot of them, they'll have I met like someone that who was Norse, and when he was like some of these films, like I'll just one word, like Loki, the that's a real deity, Loki, and I want to say that solemnly, and not I can't say that with reverence, because I haven't observed that in my life, and I haven't practiced observing that name, but that's a real name, Loki, and that appears in some of your Hollywood films. That's a famous character in some of your recent epic films, but they so whether it's about lore or or magic, they reference different things, but then they get confounded because that film company, those actors, the audiences, and the people writing those films, they're steeped in materialism and the linear sense of the progression of experience, such that they have to do more and more sophisticated things to get around the actual demands of a storyline that be placed by being tied to corporal reality with like a linear structure. And then I think the very society does that too, because like to become a music therapist, you go through all that school, all that expense just to get on to playing an instrument for people. And yes, it can be healing. You may have some knack for going through that form of discipline, because discipline in itself is what's valuable more than curriculum. Discipline, the discipline within curriculum, is what's valuable to serve an objective. But it's much to do about nothing that had been entirely necessary if we weren't forcing one another to do things. The problem is coercion, forcing, and a clock is a convenient way of doing that, but it also makes our mind like that. But the mind is transcendent like that. But sometimes these very doctors that they'll study the human body from like a physical, like I watched Arthur Avalon, and he said that sometimes doctors, they get confounded when they look into that. You have Ayurvedic medicine, like from India, that's a lot of times way profound, more subtle than Western medicine. Some of Arthur Avalon's statements based on Ayurvedic medicine are way more profound than you'd likely come across in the middle. Just the fact that human being is duplex. Most people don't appreciate